And certainly if you want to look at it, you can, but let's talk a little bit about what you discovered in that process. Much, I'm guessing.
Yes. Wow. Well, I started off, like my initial thought was, I'm gonna want to build a shelter more than a home.
And you're an architect.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm a mechanic. I build bridges for a living. I want to have this nice, like, structurally sound place to live. And I was just like, okay, let's set up the walls. And I went and got the boxes. And she just starts messing with everything. And I guess I just kind of went with it. You know, and it wasn't, I kind of thought of it more as it's not worth the fight. You know, and I can appreciate where she's coming from and how she's building her own home. And I thought, well, as long as it gets the job done, I'll just go along with it. And that's why I didn't even bother trying to set anything else up until after she fell asleep. That was really cool. That was a really helpful improv session.
Good.
This kind of reminded me, recently I was talking to my mom about this old home that I used to live in, and I was trying to talk to her about it because I started to remember certain things, and I was like, oh, I bet I can name the exact place of everything in the house. So like we sat down and I tried to draw it out and everything, and what like we discovered was that basically I remembered everything. It was just like either smaller or like just in different pieces that like made more sense to a toddler's mind, I guess.
Sure.
So that's kind of how I took that, recreating the home, a memory that was a bit more condensed and a bit more just trying to pick out the main elements of the home that we created before into this. And that was fit for like me and him, like just two people.
Were you aware she was doing that?
She was, as far as I could tell, this was just a random assortment that was reminiscent of her last home.
It was really interesting. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but it was so interesting because having watched you do the improv of building your original, I knew exactly what you were doing every time you did something. He doesn't have a clue.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's interesting. And that might be a really good thing for you guys to hang on to, right? Because even though you spend some time together, you don't spend time together here. This is not a familiar place for you at all. And so bringing her back here, even if this is the end of the story we tell, it's interesting to think about, right, the implications of that choice. You didn't have a clue what she was doing.
I honestly had no idea. I was, okay, you're throwing things around.
We were so excited about the table when it was turned. We were like,
I couldn't find it before, and then when you brought it out, I was like, oh my god, yes, the table's here.
And I was like, well, the table's gone.
Was it really fascinating to watch that?
Yeah.
It was also different, like, I guess my patience, like trying to keep my patience with her, because she is so childlike, and there's so much that she does that is like, okay, just take care of this, get through it, it's whatever, you know, because she's not like mentally on the same level as me, but I don't really care either. I just go along with it because...
So let me ask, what do you suppose it is he's drawn to with her?
One, the difference, I think. Number one, she's so different. And that's like so amazing and so fascinating. And a lot of it, I get this, like while I'm in character, I get this weird sort of teacher vibe where I'm like, or father figure sort of thing, where I feel very protective and very like educational, like I'm showing her the ways of the world and stuff. And that makes me feel better about myself, I guess. It helps with, well, Francis, it helps with like my own self-esteem and stuff. And it just, there's nothing better than explaining like a concept to someone that you completely understand and it's something left field for them. So it's...
Does he lack self-confidence?
It's not that he lacks self-confidence, it's definitely not. It feels good though. It's one of those very innately satisfying things to me. Oh, I'm kidding. Sorry, I was getting really into that.
And we'll talk more as we rehearse about that's an interesting question to me of what draws
Mm-hmm.
you to her. And your answer is perfectly fine. It might change as we
Yeah.
go through the process and really dig into
Discover
the
more
script.
things.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
really dig into the script and see what if there's anything else there. But it's a really good beginning.
Cool.
It's a very good beginning. There are no bad beginnings.
Yeah.
The only bad beginning is because Shirley told me so. So yeah, that would be the worst. Yeah.
I
What-
was
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
at the beginning. I was actually looking for a pad of paper because I made the conscious decision to keep my pencil with me
Nice.
because I wanted to. Before I got started with anything, I just wanted to sketch it out. Like that was like my initial urge. I was like,
Oh, the actual
I want to.
dwelling.
Yeah, I want to sketch out like the foundation, where the door's gonna be, where the table's gonna be at, just like get a simple ground plan. And when I couldn't do that, I went straight to just setting up the foundation of the home.
Which would be a very architecturally smart thing to do.
Yeah.
What, talk more. I feel like if I ask questions, they're too pointed, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I don't want to point you in any particular, what was your experience like?
I guess I was trying to. I had a lot of difficulty coming at this just because she went through shock therapy.
Yes.
So there's a part of her brain that's completely either messed up or gone. That's totally out there. So I guess like I was trying to pick the things about Beth Shed that is important to her most, no matter what. And like the exercise when you said that we had to take the things that we need and then move somewhere else. In my mind, I was like, okay, what are the most important things? 1, the sky. I already got that.
Yeah.
2, people, Steph.
Sure.
And then 3 was learning, and then I made Steph pick up a book. So I think, like, with that, I made sure everything that I did and recognized was a part of those 3 things.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was, I'm not even sure why exactly I did, but I wanted to recreate as much as I could
You did.
of what I did. So with that, I wanted to recreate the people. So I literally became like every person in the house that should have been there.
You did. And when
It felt
you
more
couldn't,
complete.
you made him become those people.
Yeah, exactly. And it felt so much
You
more
were Malort.
complete, like
Yeah.
being in the character.
Completely missed that.
Yeah, that's why I gave you the hat.
There's a lot of
You're sitting where Ira sits.
yeah, and I'm
That's her
holding
cane.
Kane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her book was there.
Yeah, and I noticed you impersonating people, but I guess I didn't pick up on that, and I feel like that's really indicative of our relationship, of how much I miss that
Yeah.
you're trying to communicate, and how much you miss of what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah.
Before you come here, you've been separated,
Yeah.
and you've both gone through significant life changes.
Yeah.
I mean, one could argue they're not the same at all, but you might have had shock therapy, but so did you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Shell shock.
Right.
Yeah.
In experiencing the devastations of war. So it's interesting because, and that might be something we have to really think about
Yeah.
as we move
Right.
forward.
Because I found myself like, I was really trying to keep like war stuff, I guess, at the very back of my mind. And when I was with her, it was really easy to just slip out of it and like just be in the moment with you. And I think that's
Isn't that part of what's attractive
yeah,
to all of this?
yeah, and that's like the whole point of me escaping society, so I can escape that war guilt and all that. And I think one of the moments, like one of the few moments where the war, like I guess, came back to me was when I saw a binocular and I just grabbed it out of instinct. Like I need to have this with me. This is something I need to have, regardless of.
For survival.
Yeah, I'm in the bush. What am I going to be? I'm not going to be using binoculars that much. There are trees all
Bird
around me.
watching, I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
They're beautiful parrots.
And it was just like, okay, this is something I need to get. And just the way I was like setting up fire, water, food. This is
You
a
were
s-
very practical.
yeah, it's a survival situation, and I've camped before. That's how I got here in the first place.
And you're a very logical thinker.
Yeah, and I ignored a lot of sentimental stuff, and I didn't. It didn't hold any sentiment.
There wasn't
to
a
me.
lot of sentimental stuff there for you,
No.
whereas Everything you brought,
Yeah,
almost.
almost everything had a reason because it was there before, or it was meaningful to someone else within my family.
Or an identifier of, even
Yeah.
the food,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yes, she relived, you relived.
Exactly. I went back to the past.
Yeah, yeah. So you have some memory,
hmm
a lot of good stuff, but there was some bad stuff too, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the bad memories about?
Hmm.
What couldn't you let go of?
Let go of in, like, literally things, or just like memories that I had,
Memories,
like
the past.
bad things. Oh, well, there was definitely like people dying. As soon as I think I realized that these people aren't here and you're the only one there, I made sure I cling to you so you wouldn't leave, and no matter what. And like when like I was asleep and then woke up and then saw that you were gone, that was a really intense moment.
Yeah, don't do that.
For that character. Don't do that. Because Betshev's a very people person. Like
Yeah.
she learned so much from Ire just from word of mouth. She learned a lot from Francis, like similarly, and like just her family. Those people mean so much to her that since she doesn't have that anymore, she has to direct that somewhere. And when the sentimental things were just suddenly things and they weren't as powerful, then I had to direct all of that attention on you at some point.
And now, so hang on to some of that thought.
Okay.
One of the things that I wrote down in my notes is you're a builder, but you're a nester.
Mm-hmm.
You were
Yeah.
nesting,
Yeah.
right? And that happened with your whole family to a certain extent. There was some nesting going on there, but some people did it more than others. Malorn was not so much a nester.
Yeah.
You and Angel in particular, and maybe that's we'll stereotype it and make it, you're the females that, create the space.
Yeah.
Not an unusual thing, right, to have happen. So remember that, and
Okay.
think about the difficult elements, the people being gone, the absence of certain things, the loneliness if he weren't here.
Right.
When you're in the asylum, let those be sort of from this experience, some of the memories of the struggles that you have there,
Okay.
because that is part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And we'll flesh that out, but some of that is, yes, Ira is right. You needed to go because you were dying, and she was absolutely wrong at the same time because you died faster in some ways. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there wasn't, the wrong things were done when you got there. There wasn't a savior, salvation kind of, sometimes it was too late for some people. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So in that whole process of going from here to there and then back again, those difficult things you were sort of playing with here might be some of the same challenges you have while you're there,
Yeah.
right?
Something for me, I wanted to point out how I didn't pick up a lot of the times that you were like upset. And I was just like kept trying to like play along, like when I was trying to pull you back with the
Yeah.
rope, I had no idea that you were freaking out, and I was just like, oh, this will be fun, this will be cute.
Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, and I think that says a lot in terms of how, since coming here, I used this as a new beginning to let go of everything in my past, and just I don't want to think about it anymore. I'm done with that part of my life, and like you're the only person that I really want to think about, And so I was just like, let's keep it playful, keep it like romantic and stuff. And every time you freaked out, it caught me off guard. Every single time.
Yeah.
You didn't know what to do with it.
No, and I didn't know how to react, and I didn't know the best, there's no manual for solving emotional issues, and that affects me a lot, is like, I can't just go through the motions and make her feel better.
Now, are you saying I as in Noah or I as in Francis?
Francis.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
How does Francis deal with difficult stuff? I feel like he's moving on
afterwards.
But how do you deal with difficult stuff in the moment, in the play?
Um,
And maybe you're not ready to answer that.
yeah, maybe.
It's okay. But you should think about that,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because there's something really interesting in that contrast.
Mhm.
And there's also some middle ground between these two things. This, almost, certainly immensely passion-driven, emotion-driven, physically driven, right? Versus kind of this logic,
Yeah.
reasoning.
And when logic and reason runs out, I give up.
Okay.
I definitely, it's just like, if it doesn't make any sense to me, why should I even care?
And again, that's Francis or that's?
That Francis, all Francis.
Okay, just checking. And you should check on that too, right? You
Oh,
should, I mean,
yeah.
you should think about that because, yeah, you should think about that as well. But as you go back and read your script over the weekend,
Oh,
which you
yeah.
will do at least once or twice,
Oh, of course.
pay attention to how he deals with challenging things.
Okay.
Because to me, it's interesting. I mean, not particularly unusual, but
Well,
there's some meat there for you
he
to kind of
butts it
talk
head on. Like, it's with the fight with Malorn. That's a challenge to him, and he loves it.
What about when his mom dies?
That is such a different.
But they're all challenges,
They
right?
are.
And we all have patterns of how every challenge is different, absolutely. But
how we react is pretty.
there's some consistency in
Yeah.
how whatever the challenge might be. It might be learning how to bowl, and I'm not very good at it, so it's a challenge. It's gonna be radically different and yet not that different at heart to dealing with, some tragedy in your life or something. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
So
of
pay
course.
attention to how he does deal with some of those things. Not because you're doing it wrong, just because
No, that's important,
we
yeah.
want to pay attention
And I
to
haven't
it.
really thought about that yet.
Yeah.
That's-
Well, of
how
course, we just-
how I approach conflict and obstacles as an actor is a pretty big deal.
How your character approaches
Yeah,
them is
yes.
an even bigger
Yeah,
deal.
right.
Absolutely, absolutely. You want to watch it?
Yeah.
I'd like for you to watch it because
I-
I would like for you to watch her
Yeah.
go through some of the things. Not that you're not